Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I am in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we are at the Microcap Conference 2025. It's my first time coming out to this conference in person. We've been covering the event remotely now for the last couple of years, and let me tell you, it is amazing. I went to the kickoff launch party yesterday. It was packed. There's companies from all over represented here, and I was able to snag one of the sponsors, John, to come on the show. So John, man, first off, welcome.
Thank you.
So is this your first time at this type of microcap conference, or have you been to one of these before?
I've been to quite a few, all the way back from when I was a broker, and I would come to a lot of these to look at the companies. And now I come more from the sponsor side of showing how to bring brokers into these companies.
What keeps you coming back to this? Because I'm telling you, I do a lot of conferences, John, and this one is fun, man. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different entrepreneurs from different companies, CEOs. It's just a great time. What keeps you coming back?
Really, the relationships, the people. I like looking at the companies. I like talking. Maybe give some of these guys some insight to what I've learned over the years, and really drive some values and some perspectives that a lot of these issuers or companies don't really look at in the way they should.
Tell us a little bit more about your company.
Well, Acorn Management Partners, we are what we call a professional relations company. So we have offices in Atlanta and in Sarasota, Florida. And what we do is we're hired by the public companies, and we call brokerage firms. So we talk to individual brokers on a rate of about 3,000 phone calls per month per client. It equates to about 700 to 800 verbal presentations. We're not talking to brokers and saying, buy this stock. We're not talking to them and saying, buy anything. What we're saying is, here's the investment thesis. Does this make sense? They say, no, that's fine. Next guy. The guy goes, yeah, tell me more about this company. Why do you think it's undervalued? So then you go into the investment thesis. Then you go to comparables and catalysts. What companies can we compare this company to? What catalyst are they projecting to change that value gap over the next 2 to 3 years? I'm not looking for quick fixes. I'm not looking for something to move instantaneous. I want to show a value for a broker, so that broker can show that. So as we go through different steps of what we call a sales process. And then as we go through that, the broker says, hey, I saw this company execute on their model. I saw this company do what they were supposed to do. Then that broker starts opening that client to their clients. So they have, an average broker has between 300 to 500 accounts and runs probably anywhere between, call it 600 to $1 billion AUM, so assets under management. So what we want to do is that broker then finds the suitability for a company here, and I won't name it, but I was just talking to one guy here, and I was talking to him, and I mean, he's got a company that's trading at right under a $12 million market cap, $69 million in revenues, right?
Yeah.
So if you take that, if you use a Sprouts or somebody else in the industry, they're trading at 0.7 times revenues. He's trading at less than 0.001 times revenues. So if you look at that projected out, then what's my obvious question? Well, what are your revenues going to look like next year or the following year?
Yeah.
So let's do what the U.S. military does and reverse map it. So let's go 3 years forward. Where do you think your revenues are going to be? How are you going to get there? How much money will you need? And then let's go to now, and then let's project the value moving forward. And so that's kind of what we do.
And so without saying the company's name, just to continue the story, so let's say this particular company starts working with you. Now what happens is within your model, you would be reaching out, or your team be reaching out to the brokers and telling their story. Am I off on that? I want to make sure I understand.
No, that's exactly correct. Right? It tells that investment thesis of
the
that
thesis.
company.
There you go, the investment.
Because what good does it do for an issue or a company to do something and they create volume, right? Which that's a misnomer in the first place. That's really not a measurable number. But they create volume, but they come in and out. Well, you wasted money, time, and effort, because really, if you look at a company and you want to know how to grow a company, and this is old from my hedge fund days, and so you want to look at shareholder base. So if you have 5,000 to 6,000 shareholders, round lot over $1,000, you trade 100,000 shares a day. That's your average. If you have 10,000 to 12,000 shareholders, round lot over $1,000, you trade 1 million shares a day. So volume's a byproduct of shareholder growth and expansion.
Yeah.
So why are you worried about volume? Worry about shareholder growth. Right? Basic economics 101, right? Supply and demand. If you reduce supply and increase demand, you get market cap expansion and volume growth. And it just takes time. But it's based on shareholder growth and execution of the company.
Speaking of the shareholder growth and just getting their investment thesis out there without let's juxtapose this with your company. Obviously, then you have somebody that's going out there, and I think you said 3,000 contacts or relationships that you would be sharing that
Well,
thesis
no,
to.
it's 3,000 phone calls per month, 700 to 800 presentations. And we do it through a CRM database management system. So we have 480,000 brokers in our database. So we don't go to the same, every client builds their own network, broker network. So it's independent, it's not a Rolodex. So every company is built based upon that company's fundamentals, that company's model, because an oil and gas guy is not buying a biotech.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're going to talk PV10s with oil and gas. You're going to talk about PDUFAs and different things with with biotechs or whatever. So those metrics are different. So those brokers should be different, and those pools of assets are different.
And so without a company like yours, how are Microcap or how are people in this space, how are they trying to, share that thesis in the tradition, let's say without you there? Because it feels like it's a hard story to tell. Like you look at this particular company you're talking about and you give those numbers and you're like, well, they don't necessarily specialize in going out there and doing what you just mentioned. Like it's a different way to tell the story.
Well, the truth is, the way that it's been set up for years and years is companies go to conferences.
Yeah.
And they try to get their story out.
Yep.
How many brokers have you met here?
Yeah, none.
None. So it's neat for them to get it out to bankers or get in front of analysts in that direction.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you get out in front of the investment community?
Yes.
That's what I built Acorn for. We're the only company in the world that does it.
Yeah, it's new to me because when you said it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's different. And I've done a lot of interviews, man. I'm over 6,000 interviews in, and I'm like, what? You do it like this? But but when the way you explain, it's very logical. Like, what do you do otherwise? Put out a press release. You do some other things. You
and
do,
I'll
like,
get to that.
That's
Right?
there's nothing wrong with that, but that relationship side in those conversations, you're doing a roadshow in mass, but at the scaled roadshow, but customized and tailored, not a random email that goes to somebody.
Because you've done interviews.
Oh yeah.
How many interviews have you done with somebody you never talked to them, didn't know anything about it, didn't sit in front of them, and didn't create a relationship? How many of those worked?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
You have to have a relationship. So you have to get that broker, because the broker is going to have a need, which is interesting because the broker's need is going to be the exact same need that's in that broker's book, because people do business with people they know or like.
Of course.
So when you go back to a news release, so why do news releases not work? Because if you don't understand the investment thesis, how that news release applies to the catalyst that we talked about that proves the comparable, then the news is nothing more than one sheet of paper. It means nothing.
Yeah.
But if you add that news to an understanding of the company, to how that company's comparables work, and then what this catalyst is doing, this news event, a catalyst, right, which you turn it changes from a catalyst to what we call a validator in the next step, because now the company's validated their ability to execute, turning the catalyst into a validator or a news release.
And it puts it back on the radar for that broker.
Yeah,
It puts it back on the radar so that now when the road comes across the desk, if that happens to be how it comes across their desk, then it's like, oh, I remember these guys. Or I remember this company. Oh, they did it. Okay, maybe we take another look.
Well, and then that's the whole thing about us. We make 700 to 800 conversations.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're buying.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I hate to say it that way.
Yeah.
What I want to do is get it on their screen.
Of
So
course.
that they're looking now, they're like, oh, wow, that company
That has its own value right there, just on their radar amongst all the rest of the companies that aren't working with a company like yours or haven't broken through the noise.
Exactly.
It's awesome. John, last thing I want you to do, I know it's a busy conference, you got a lot to do. I want you to look in the camera, tell people how they can follow up, how they can learn more about your company.
Well, I appreciate your time and in being here. We're at www. I guess you don't say that anymore. AcornManagementPartners.com. And we have our page there. We also have, we work primarily only with issuers.
Yeah.
We don't do anybody else.
Amazing. Everybody that's watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes, so you can just click on the link and head right on over, check out the website. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're putting out new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And hey, John, appreciate you making some time for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, mission matters.